Peyton will go to Eli's stadium to try to win a Super Bowl. Eli's already won one in Peyton Stadium. Peyton Manning, all that Peyton propaganda you heard for the last couple of weeks.
Oh, it'll be quiet for another week.
A 400-yard performance by Peyton today and his Broncos team with a clean performance. 507 yards, 400 from the quarterback. Didn't turn it over, didn't get sacked.
He's down to 20, 15, he could go, he is going to go. Touchdown Seahawks. Oh my word.
The final play takes me through it.
Well, I'm the best corner in the game. When you try me with a star and you see like Crabtree, that's the result you won't get. Don't you ever talk about me.
No one's talking about you.
Crabtree, don't you open your mouth about the bet. Or you're going to shut up for you real quick. LOB.
All right, and Joe, back over to you.
This is the Zuki and Ruggs Show coming to you on a Friday afternoon, lunch hour special, and we're going to break down some incredible championship action from the NFL. Conference Championship Sunday, tremendous action, both games, in particular the NFC title game. This is the Zuki and Ruggs Show coming to you live from CSB Studios in Stratford, Connecticut, and my partner, Zuki. Welcome in, buddy.
My man. Hey, yo. How's it going, brother?
I'm doing great.
I'll tell you about these games. Tom Brady ran out of magic, and it's going to be 10 years and counting for the New England Patriots since the last time they hoisted a Lombardi trophy. And I'll just say this right now. I'm not going to comment too much on the ignorance and the stupidity on social media in regards to Peyton Manning, but let's tell it like it is.
Vindication.
On Sunday afternoon, under a beautiful sunny sky in an unseasonably warm Denver, Colorado, Peyton Manning pulled out the fire extinguisher and he extinguished the demons of his postseason past, and he friggin' laid the smackdown on Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and the New England Patriots. Now, their fans, Peyton's detractors, Peyton's haters, they can all crawl underneath the rock. The guy was magnificent. I would say it's, in my opinion, listen, I haven't gone through all of his playoff games, but Ruggies, in my opinion, this was his best playoff game I think he's ever played. Over 400 yards passing. Should have had three touchdowns. Julius Thomas dropped one.
Well, it was his most efficient game that I've seen him in the playoffs. Yeah, he ended up 32 for 43 with 400 yards on the dot and 2 touchdowns. No interceptions, no hurries, no sacks, no problem with the New England defense.
Great point, Ruggs. The Broncos' offensive line was tremendous, and that's what I've said throughout the years, in terms of Peyton Manning's playoff success. And that's one thing that drives me crazy. People are so selective about, oh, Peyton never won this. Peyton never won that. He hasn't, 11-0, losing record in the playoffs. Give Peyton Manning a defense like Tom Brady had early in his career, okay, and like Joe Montana had, okay. Mm-hmm. Give Peyton Manning a clutch field goal kicker like Tom Brady had early in his career with Adam Vinatieri making clutch kicks left and right. Give Peyton Manning an offensive line, okay, all in one game. And let's see what he can do. Well, guess what, Ruggs? As you saw on Sunday, boom. Look what happens when Peyton Manning has a good team around him. And I'm not saying he didn't have a good team around him all those years, but he was always missing something. All those components weren't there for him in the past. He got it on Sunday. And just complete domination by the Denver Broncos on the New England Patriots. So kudos to the Denver Broncos and especially Peyton Manning on advancing to the Super Bowl, putting those demons behind him for this year. And all the detractors can now sit there and eat some crow and shut your fat mouth about Tom Brady being the greatest quarterback of all time. He certainly didn't look like the greatest quarterback of all time, did he?
If you want to go head-to-head with the stat lines, Brady was 24 out of 38, 277, had a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown. Also no interceptions. That's one thing about this game. There was 0 turnovers. Mm-hmm. So it was a clean game.
Yep.
And like I said, Manning 32 out of 43 for 402 touchdowns. Tom Brady, though, missed a couple of wide open guys. And that really hurt.
Yes, he did, Ruggs. He certainly did miss some wide open guys. And I won't give myself a big pat on the back, but got to say Julian Edelman had a great game. And we knew that would be a matchup problem for the Denver Broncos on Edelman. I think he ended up with like 10 catches.
Yeah, 10 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown, targeted 15 times.
Yeah.
So he was the only guy Brady had.
And he missed Edelman on a I think would have been a touchdown.
Would have been, yeah. And when they were down 3-0, and
Right.
I could have put them ahead.
Right, and really would have put some pressure on Denver there. Brady did miss some guys. And you know what? Manning missed Demaryius Thomas on one. I think it was a drive when they were up 10-3, I believe. And that really would have and I think they ended up kicking a field goal, making it 13-3. And he missed Demaryius Thomas, and he was open. I mean, it wasn't an egregious miss.
Right.
Just
but sailed
he
it a little
was
high.
open, but he did just miss him. He overthrew him. But, what are you going to do? But you're right. Clean game by both quarterbacks, no turnovers, and, hey, the better team won.
And I'm glad you brought up Demaryius Thomas, because I thought a huge moment in the game was when Welker picked Aqib Talib and knocked him out of the game, because Denard could not cover Demaryius Thomas.
No, and he was exploited. And then you hear Bill Belichick after the game.
Ooh, he got a little heated, and you don't see a lot of emotion in Bill Belichick.
Calling it the worst plays ever
seen. I think he's getting a little carried away.
Yes,
but,
a little sour grapes. Hey, Bill, do me a favor.
It was
Bill.
a block, but
Come on. Oh, yeah, but it was okay for his guy to try to knock out Eric Decker. Was it Eric Decker earlier in the game?
Yes.
I think they did the same thing. They tried to knock out Eric. Edelman did the same thing to Cromartie. So how can he sit there, Bill? Shut the hell up. How can he sit there and say that's the worst play he ever saw? Meanwhile, your guy Edelman. Oh, and by the way, Julian Edelman, can I say something about Julian Edelman? Julian, can you please shut up when you make a catch? I mean, do I need to see this little Napoleon syndrome clown make a catch, and every time he makes a catch, he's getting in someone's face? Yeah. I mean, come on. You talk about rubbing somebody the wrong way. Julian Edelman, oh, my God, shut up. And I'm so glad I don't have to see Julian Edelman until September. And, oh, my God. Come on. You're losing 20-3, and you make a catch, and you got to get up and get in somebody's face.
Oh, exactly.
Oh, my God.
He's probably doing that because he's the only one that did show up. Danny Amendola, 0 catches.
Yeah, unreal. I was surprised by that.
How does that signing feel now?
Oh, yeah.
To replace Welker.
Oh, my God.
That's just
And Welker had some big third downs, especially on that drive that got him to the goal line. I remember they had a holding call. The same drive that Julius Thomas dropped the touchdown. And he had a huge conversion, a huge catch. Welker had some big catches, but I will say, and it's something I called last week, I'm not going to give myself any credit. I'm not a genius or anything like that, even though I am. And I'm sure if I noticed it, I'm sure Peyton Manning noticed it right away. The fact that Julius Thomas was a big factor for the Denver Broncos in this game.
Huge.
He made some huge first downs. It seemed like every catch the guy made was a first down.
8 for 85.
Yeah, and everyone. I mean, how many of those catches were first downs?
Third down conversions.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Julius Thomas was a big factor for them. Manning really distributed the wealth. He was really masterful in that regard. He really spread the ball out. He did a masterful job with that. He was amazing, and got to give it to him. Through and through, a great effort by the Denver Broncos. And I will say this. The biggest surprise, Ruggs, for me in that game, I don't know how you feel, my biggest surprise was the Denver Broncos defensive line thoroughly dominating
Held
the Patriots
to
offensive
64
line.
yards rushing.
And
I really thought the Patriots rushing was going to be the difference in the game.
Yeah.
And it was the opposite.
Yes.
Denver's offensive line played better than New England's, and the defensive line, like
Shock
you said.
and Ruggs.
Good point.
And I think that's where the battle was really won. Sure, Peyton Manning was great, but I think, Ruggs, that was where the battle was won in the trenches. We all know that. You win the war in the trenches, and I'm borderline shocked. I won't say that if you had told me that was going to happen on Sunday, I think I would have laughed at you. I would have you're kidding me. Denver's offensive line is going to outplay the Patriot defensive line, and then vice versa. They were going to win the battle on the lines. I didn't think that was going to happen, and they did. So kudos to the Broncos. They just thoroughly outclassed them.
They did. And, the game ended up being 26-16, and New England did make a furious rush in the fourth quarter. The missed 2-point conversion was very large. I mean, they could have cut it to a one-score game. That was with 3:07 to go. So they really were forced to try the onside kick, which they didn't convert. Pretty much your ball game there, but they could have kicked off had they made the 2-point conversion. So, I mean, I'll give Brady credit. He didn't quit. I didn't like the body language on the sideline. I noticed it all game long. I thought when you looked at the Denver sideline, Manning was into the game. I thought the sideline was up and engaged. I looked at the Patriots sideline a few times in the first half when it was still a game. And I saw Brady's head down a lot. I didn't see a lot of buzz on that sideline for New England. And, I didn't see, usually when Brady gets down, you see him yelling at people saying, we're coming back, we're not done. I didn't see any of that yesterday.
Oh, you mean Tom Brady is not the greatest leader of all time? Oh, jeez. Oh, what a shocker. Oh, wow.
He was thinking about his timeshare in Aspen or something. He wasn't into the game as much as...
Oh, really? But he's the greatest quarterback of all time. Oh, jeez, really? Oh, so are you implying that Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, quit? No.
Well, I won't say he quit. In the fourth quarter, I think he realized, I'm going to make...
I'll say it. He quit. Listen, the bottom line is this, folks, and I'm going to bring this up, and enough of this Tom Brady crap. Season on the line, 26-16. He rushes the touchdown. You got to go for 2. Folks, the greatest quarterback of all time doesn't hand the ball off with the season on the line. I don't care who sends the play call in. If Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time, he doesn't hand the ball off. Tom Brady says no. He puts his foot down. He says, nope. My game, my team, okay? We live and die by me, the greatest of all time. I'm throwing this. I'm making a play, just like he did. And that was a nice job by running it in. I even said it when he was in the pocket. I said, dude, run it in, and he did.
Well, and he got away from a defensive lineman there. I mean, I was impressed with him breaking that tackle.
Yeah, he did a nice job. He willed himself into the end zone. Now, why in the world? I mean, I don't know who made the call, whether it's McDaniels or Brady himself, whoever.
Yeah, I thought maybe they saw something and they thought they were going to get a matchup, or they had a hunch that would break and nobody would touch Vereen on the way in, but I was surprised.
The greatest quarterback of all time makes a play. He doesn't rely on his third best running back on a handoff. Now, if he did a swing pass to Vereen and he got stopped, okay.
Sure, you live with that.
Yeah, but a handoff to Shane Vereen, which your season on the line, folks, that spoke volumes of the confidence of Tom Brady and the New England Patriots.
I agree.
The New England Patriots basically said, we have more faith in Shane Vereen running this in than we do you throwing it in.
I agree. And one thing, just Belichick is a great coach.
Oh, great coach. Best coach of my lifetime.
But sometimes he almost is too stubborn for his own good. I mean, I thought it was idiotic yesterday to keep running LeGarrette Blount out there. He didn't have it. He didn't want to go to Ridley. He was using him in the rotation. He has his order, and he's gonna give 2 series to Blount. He gives a series to Ridley. He goes back to Blount. Vereen was kind of spelling on every third or fourth, and that's how he runs his rotations.
Right.
But when you have a guy that is just not getting any traction, is not getting any yardage, and you got another guy who you're not using as much, you got to make the switch there. I thought the first half, when you got 64 yards rushing for the game, and you're not putting in Stephen Ridley, giving him a shot. I mean, he's the kind of guy that can break off a 64-yard run on one play. Right. Now, I know LeGarrette Blount busted the big one against the Colts, but that's abnormal. He just was not touched and went all the way. He's not a big 60, 70-yard runner. He doesn't have the speed that Ridley has, and I didn't get it. I don't understand why they didn't make this change.
Ruggs, great point. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yeah, you're right. It was a stubbornness on Belichick's part, and I kind of knew, and you had to know from the get-go, on that first carry, when he got stuffed, and then the second, it was his first couple carries, I kind of saw it. And listen, again, I'm no scout, I'm no genius, I'm just a fan, like everyone else is. But you know when a running back doesn't have it.
Yeah.
And LeGarrette Blount did not have it.
When you have 8 carries and 5 yards, that's a red flag.
I saw it on the first 3 carries. I said, wow, this doesn't look right. He didn't have the burst. He wasn't hitting that line of scrimmage with any sort of impact at all. It was he almost like tippy-toed it. He reminded me a lot of Brandon Jacobs. You know, that's one thing I've always had against Brandon Jacobs. There's times when Jacobs used to hit the hole, and he was a monster. Then there were times when Brandon Jacobs would tiptoe to the line of scrimmage, afraid of contact, and that's what Blount did there on Sunday. And you're right, Ruggs. He should have gone to Ridley, but you know what? I've been screaming about that for weeks to give Ridley more opportunities and more touches. Again, Bill's not listening to the show, and even if he was, he'd tell me to stick it. Again, it's no surprise to me at all that he didn't give the ball to Ridley. I'm not saying they would have won the game if they had given the ball to Ridley, but you never know. You never know. Perhaps they would have, but
you know what?
We'll never know.
You know who had a nice game was Monty Ball.
Yes.
You know,
he did.
Moreno did a good job. He was the feature back in the game, but when they got it down into the red zone, and this is something Fox likes to do, he gets the quicker Monty ball in there,
he did.
A little lower to the ground, hits the holes, and he converted a couple third downs. A 3rd and 10 he ran for a 3rd and 10. That was huge.
That's right. And he iced the game on a nice run.
Yes.
The game was over anyway.
Right,
but,
they weren't going to get
it was a 2-possession game, but he really had a nice game. Monty Ball's a talented back if he just holds on to the ball. He's had the same problems as Ridley. So and like David Wilson as well. Those guys are pretty similar. I really like Monte Ball. I think he's a very talented back. So Denver, great balance by Denver through and through, offensively, defensively. Prater hit that long 54-yarder. His first couple kicks were a little shaky.
that first one looked like it was hooking. But,
boy!
He's lucky it was a short kick.
He is money, and that's another thing I've always said about Peyton, like we spoke about.
He's not
Mike
Vanderjagt.
What I tell you, Peyton Manning's probably sitting there like, if I had this guy in Indy, I could have won a couple more Super Bowls.
Yeah,
really,
because they're beating Pittsburgh,
especially that. Oh yeah, Prater would have nailed him. Oh yeah,
and the San Diego game.
Yes,
there was a lot of
a couple games there. So the Denver Broncos are advancing to the Super Bowl. Peyton's going to go to his little brother's house and try to tie him and get that second ring there in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to seeing Peyton Manning in New York during Super Bowl week. Listen, in my opinion, which doesn't mean much, okay, it's like a pimple on Kim Kardashian's butt, okay? In my opinion, he's the greatest quarterback of all time, lest my generation. I'm 32 going on 33. He's the best quarterback I've ever seen. I saw Montana, like I said last week on the show. I've obviously seen Brady. I've seen a lot of the all-time great. Marino, you name it. I've seen him. Elway, whatever. He's the best I've ever seen. Now, a lot of people don't share that sentiment. A lot of people think I'm crazy. That's fine. You can go ahead and think I'm crazy.
I love the analogy with Kim Kardashian.
You like it?
That was great.
Yeah, I don't know. I pull stuff out of my hat. But so it's going to be great to see him in New York. It's going to be great for marketing. The NFL, I know they're excited. They're loving Peyton Manning in New York for a couple of weeks. They can market this guy. He can do interviews. He can go. He's probably going to go like on the Good Morning America.
Sure.
He's probably going to go on the Strahan and Reed Kelly's show, whatever it's called. I don't even know what it's called. The Kelly and
Regis
Michael
and Kelly, but there's no Regis
still
anymore. I don't think they call it.
Whatever. The
Live.
Michael
I think it's called Live with.
Exactly. So he's going to do all that. He's going to do all of it. He's going to be all over New York, and he should be. He's a great ambassador for the game. He's the classiest player in the NFL. He's a money-making machine. The NFL should just have him go all over New York and just make all the money he can with the guy.
I want to ask you this. I think, and I'll get your opinion on this, if he ends up winning this Super Bowl, this game here against Brad, this is a signature win in his career. He's had many wins, and I know the first Super Bowl was huge, and it erases the stigma of never having won it. But he beat Rex Grossman. This is different. If you beat Tom Brady he beat Tom Brady going into that game too, but he didn't dominate the game the way he did this. He showed he was the better quarterback yesterday. Mm-hmm. They had the better team. Now, if he goes in and gets this trophy, to me, that puts him on another level. I think that takes him from one of the best and puts him up to the best.
Well,
I think a lot of people feel that way. I mean, you've already said you feel he's the best anyway, but I think it's going to change some other people's minds.
Agree. I think this will validate him. I agree, Ruggs. If he comes out in this Super Bowl and he plays well, doesn't turn the ball over, and he wins the game, you're right. I mean, how can you deny the fact that he is? This will elevate him in stature. It'll be his second Super Bowl, and he'll be the first quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl on two different teams. So I don't think anyone will be able to deny the fact that this guy has just been remarkable. The fact that it's a tale of two careers for Peyton Manning. We got to remember, this is a guy who was the All-American quarterback, great quarterback on a great team in Indianapolis. Then he gets the neck injury, and then it's is his career over? When you talk about, folks, he had no tricep in his right arm. None. It was withered away. His muscles atrophied so bad due to the nerve damage in his neck. He had no tricep. It was like jelly. He had no arm strength. Folks, he couldn't throw a friggin' ball. Here's a guy who went from being a 4-time MVP, arguably, again, I'll use the word arguably, the best quarterback in the league, to not being able to do what he can do for a living.
And I'll tell you, as a quarterback, it's pretty important to have a tricep. It's also pretty important to have a strong neck. and not have that be injured. So
he couldn't feel his arm. He had no feeling in his arm. And to come back from that and do what he's done, folks, how about we show some appreciation for this guy's intestinal fortitude?
He could have rode off into the sunset.
His resilience.
2 years ago.
He could have, and he's going to the Hall of Fame.
Right.
First ballot, and he would have been an all-time great quarterback, and everybody would have understood.
But he thought he had more work to do, and he's come back, signed with Denver.
It's remarkable, Ruggs.
Making this great run now.
Ruggs, it's remarkable. And it just bothers me when people disrespect the guy. It's like
those people 10 years from now say, oh, yeah, I remember watching Manning. Appreciate him
so.
now. That's what I wish I had done with some guys over the years watching. Appreciate them at the time that they're still there and still at the top of their game or close to it.
Well said, man. Well said.
Let's we'll kick real quick over into the NFC Championship. Talk about that one, because if this game was, I don't want to say not exciting, the Patriot Bronco game, because that's not true. But it just didn't maybe live up to what everybody's expectations was.
Yeah, we didn't get the shootout, and there was unfortunately no drama.
Yes.
I mean, it's just the way it shook out.
Well,
right.
It made up for it in the nightcap.
Right.
Because you had everything in this game. Seattle ended up with a 23-17 win. And from the first play of the game, which was a Russell Wilson fumble.
Unbelievable.
To start, and to the last play, which was a Malcolm Smith interception on a tip pass by Richard Sherman. Everything in the middle was there was just one big play after another. I couldn't keep up, trying to, turning point, key play. You can't nail it down to one.
There were a couple, Ruggs. I mean, this game really was. I mean, okay, we'll start from the beginning.
Yep.
Like you said, first play, and we said it here last week. Russell Wilson needs to play a clean game and needs to make good decisions when he's out of the pocket and when he's scrambling and whatnot. Well, guess what? He scrambles. Aldon Smith comes, hits him, strip sack, recovered by the Niners. And immediately my first thought, just like your first thought probably was, uh-oh.
Yeah, it was a bad tone to start the game.
And San Fran gets the ball at about the 10-yard line.
Yep.
And you're thinking, oh, no.
This is 15, and they couldn't punch it in.
This is terrible for a struggling quarterback, and this is the worst thing that could have possibly happened for Russell Wilson. And then, as we saw, Seattle's defense, which it always does this year, and they have been remarkable, as we know, bails out Russell Wilson in the turnover, holds San Fran to a field goal. And then right after the next drive, Russell Wilson made some nice plays. After that, the next drive, after the San Fran field goal, he made some nice throws, and it seems like he forgot about the fumble, which was big because as a quarterback, as a football player, as a defensive back, whatever, you want to have a short memory. Yes. And Russell Wilson showed that. He showed a little amnesia there. He forgot about it, and he carried on. What a tremendous game, Ruggs. And what are some plays, Ruggs? I mean, what do you think, Ruggs? I mean, we can go all over. Give me some big plays you think where this game really – give me some turning points in this game, Ruggs. What do you think?
Well, early I thought the key was Seattle just couldn't capitalize on some things that the Niners did. LaMichael James muffed a punt. They didn't recover it.
Yes.
This is when it was still 3-0,
Yep.
and the Niners end up keeping possession. That same possession, they ended up scoring the touchdown to make it 10-0. Crabtree on a 3rd and 9. Kaepernick was being rushed out of the pocket. He threw a pass that maybe traveled 3 yards, and they called Richard Sherman on a pass interference, or actually, I'm sorry, on a defensive holding against Crabtree, which he really didn't need to do because it was nowhere. If he just waits and makes the tackle, they're punting the football there. They gives him an automatic first down. Then Kaepernick hits a run, takes off and runs it all the way down to the 8-yard line of Seattle.
Yeah, that was a huge run.
60-some-odd yard run there. I mean, and he ended up with 130 for the game, which was incredible.
He had over 100 in the first half.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean, I thought he was ready to break records there. And I will say kudos to the Seahawks. I'm sorry to cut you off there, Ruggs.
No.
Kudos to the Seahawks for making an adjustment at halftime. And that's one thing I was actually saying while I was watching the game. I'm like, halftime can't come fast enough for the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Because they really need to regroup, get to the locker room, and come up with a defensive scheme to keep Colin Kaepernick in the pocket.
Their plan was to use KJ Wright as a spy. They said it all week, and he just – that one play, he just didn't get there.
He got
quickly.
beat. Yeah, exactly.
He got beat. You saw it in the replay. Yeah. He just didn't get there.
He didn't get today. Yeah, he didn't get the right angle on Kaepernick, and Kaepernick was able to go and get
so
the big run.
So they started to use Wagner a little bit more. They almost, what I thought, and like you said, great point on the adjustment. They kind of split the field, and they almost used 2 spies. They had Wagner kind of covering one half and Wright covering the other, and I thought it worked much better. You can't get to Kaepernick with one guy.
No.
I don't care if he's how fast of a linebacker he is. You can't. Nobody's
and they
getting
weren't.
to him.
They weren't. I will say one thing about Colin Kaepernick. My God, what an athlete! He is an
tremendous.
amazing athlete. And I will say, you know, the 49ers made the right decision. I know they fell short in this game, but he's a hell of an athlete, man. He is remarkable.
And that possession that Kaepernick ran the 60-yard run to get down to 1st and goal, it got all the way to 4th and goal, and Anthony Dixon put it in after on the play before. Look, it was called a touchdown. They reviewed it, said his forearm came down. Then he goes over the top. It's 10-0. That's a point. I'm like,
Ruggs,
I don't think Seattle can score more than 10 points to get back in this game.
It didn't look like it, Ruggs. It really didn't. And I will give the Niners credit, especially Jim Harbaugh. What a gutsy call. It's like he pinned his ears back and said, guys, we're going to score this touchdown. We're giving it to Anthony Dixon again. And it worked. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and they had gotten one in Carolina the week before. They punched it in. Frank Gore
right.
punched in a 4th and goal.
So I'll give the Niners credit on that one. I will say one injury that really, I think, hurt them was the Iupati injury.
Yes.
I think that really hurt them out. I mean,
in the second half, they felt it because the pressure started to get there.
Yes. Yeah, it was Kaepernick was under siege after that. And I'm not, again, I don't like to point to one player's injury as it's and use that as an excuse, but that was a big injury for the 49ers. Definitely was. It didn't seem like they were the same offense after that.
No, I agree. And I wrote notes when I was watching the game, and I kept writing to myself, Wilson has to run more. I kept thinking he's got to loosen this defense up. He would roll out, and like you said, he's a look to pass first guy.
Yeah.
And I admire that about him. I think it's great. But there's times you got to stretch that defense out the way Kaepernick can do. And I thought Wilson, a couple times that he took off and made big plays, I really thought that led to later success. And a guy that was real huge for Seattle was Doug Baldwin.
Yes.
He only had 6 catches, but 106 yards.
Big catches.
They were all big.
All big catches. Yeah, he was definitely vital in the victory for the Seahawks. And that's one thing I actually spoke of last week, on the show was, Russell Wilson, when he dances around the line of scrimmage or in the pocket or whatnot, he needs to make clear and concise decisions. And when he does that, he executes. When he's crossed up, he doesn't. And we saw that early especially in the first half, we saw that. He was rolling out, behind the line of scrimmage, going backwards, dancing around, getting in trouble. He had the intentional grounding penalty. He looked a little out of whack. And hey, give it to the 49ers. They put pressure on him, and they're a great defense. That's what great defenses do. They rattle quarterbacks, and they really, Russell Wilson really was a little disheveled. He really didn't. He wasn't.
Well, the O-line didn't hold up well, especially early in the game. I thought that both Smiths really dominated that game on the line of scrimmage. Especially
Bowman.
Alden Smith. Navarro Bowman was a beast. We'll get to him later.
Russell Wilson was tremendous on. He made a couple. That's one play in my opinion, Ruggs, that really turned the game around for the Seahawks. Was the throw to Doug Baldwin. Obviously, when it's 10-3. And Marshawn Lynch's touchdown run, God.
When he went beast mode?
He went
was that
beast
a moment
mode.
Or what?
Unbelievable.
That almost got up to New Orleans status from a couple years ago in the wild card game. It was almost that kind of run.
Unbelievable. They looked dead. They looked dead to rights, Ruggs, before that play. They were lethargic on offense. They really weren't moving the ball. They got the nice drive for the field goal, 10-3, but they really weren't. They had no success offensively. And it's as if Marshawn Lynch said, okay, enough's enough. Give me the damn ball, and I'm going to go. And he did. And I think that touchdown run propelled them, gave them confidence offensively, and they said, okay, you know what? We can win this damn game.
Yeah.
We can score on these guys. It was as if it was a heavyweight fight, and you're working the body, and you're not really hurting the guy. And that's what was happening with Seattle's offense. They were hitting him. It's like, it's not working.
To score points and wear them down for later. Yep.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, they got that one shot in. They threw a left hook, and bam, they connected. And it's the same thing in a boxing fight. It's like, oh man, I nailed this guy. And you see the guy. He's got he's dizzy, he's dazed, and you knock him backwards, and it's like, oh man, this guy, I can knock this guy out. I can win this fight, and that's exactly what happened.
And I want to say, I don't remember seeing a game where it looked like so many guys were going to get carried out. I mean, every time a guy went into the middle of the field, there was a collision, and the guy got up. And I mean, these guys aren't going to be the same after this game. Neither team. Anybody that played significant minutes in this game is going to feel this for probably the rest of their careers.
Man, it was one of the most physical games, and we knew that going in.
Tough guys too. I mean,
yes.
Frank Gore got knocked out of the game for a while. They had to bring in Kendall Hunter, which
he got knocked out on a punt,
and he got knocked out. I thought when Michael James muffed that punt early in the game, and he took a big shot that he might not come back. You didn't see him again until the third quarter. I mean, you had some bad dudes on that field, but maybe the baddest one of them all ended up going out. For hopefully not a career-ending injury, but it looked a little like, it was very Theismann-esque when his leg went one way and his body went the other, but that's NaVorro Bowman. Yeah, an unfortunate injury for NaVorro Bowman. It was and it ended up being one of the biggest plays of the game. Yes.
It wasn't really the most impactful play of the game, but on a pass by Russell Wilson to Jermaine Kearse there, clearly NaVorro Bowman unfortunately, it was the last play of this season, hopefully not the last play of his career, because he's an excellent ball player. I wish NaVorro Bowman the best. Hopefully he gets back on the field much sooner than later, or never. Hopefully he gets back on the field, which you like to think that he will with the technology nowadays, with the technologies in medicine. But nevertheless, rips the ball out of Jermaine Kearse's hands. Clearly he retains possession of the ball.
There was no question about it.
And unfortunately, I hate to say it, after seeing the replay 117 times by Fox, thanks for traumatizing me. I had nightmares last night. I hate to say this, and it's going to sound perverse, but his bent knee was down. And if you watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah. His damaged knee that was, his leg that was being ripped out, is the one that touched the turf first, which is disgusting to even say. And he goes down in a screaming heap, and he has possession of the ball. And how the NFL, can justify the fact that it's not reviewable, and just a disgrace. Again, I went on a tirade last week, Ruggs. Maybe it's your turn to go on a tirade about these refs. I've had it with these refs. Ruggs, what did you see? Break down that play for us, Ruggs, because I don't know if I have the stomach for it anymore with these officials. What do you think? What's your opinion on the play? I think it's a disgrace. It's not reviewable. And I will say one thing about Bill Belichick. In my opinion, he got one thing right. No play should not be reviewable. If you've got instant replay, how can it not be reviewable? So I agree with Bill Belichick in that regard. But what do you think, Rose?
Well, I think the Rules Committee's really got to look at this issue in the offseason, and I believe that they will. There was some mention on it on the air during the coverage that they would start to consider looking at plays like this where you got to change a possession, you got to worry about a whistle blowing a dead, but being able to review. I know they don't like to review plays where there's a whistle involved, a play like this where it's a change of possession potentially down on the goal line, because there's a lot of factors. First of all, nobody can hear anything. In a place like Seattle, they can't hear a dead ball whistle through. But on a clear scoring play or close to being a scoring play, this wasn't a scoring play, but it was to the 1 yard line, you have got to be able to take a look and see if possession was changed, and it clearly was. No question about it. Now, the play was set up. Kaepernick was strip sacked by Cliff Averill. Michael Bennett picks the ball up, gets it to the 6 yard line. They proceed to get to the 1. Now, this is a pass to Kearse, like you said. He gets the ball taken right out of his hands by Bowman, who falls to the ground. Like you said, in a heap he was landed on. But, that play right there, it's a change of possession. Ball is dead, even when he puts the ball back down on the ground after he falls in pain. Now, he took that ball all the way to the ground before he let it go.
Yeah, he was down by contact.
Down by contact. If you want to say that the down by contact part's not reviewable, then that's fine, but possession had already changed hands.
He ripped the ball right out of Kearse's hands.
So if anybody can't challenge it, it should be Seattle that can't challenge the fact that San Fran has the ball, but not the other way around. That's just crazy. I'm tired of hearing Mike Pereira come on the air and just, get behind Fox and the NFL machine there and just, be the company guy, the puppet that he is.
Well said, Ruggs.
And go on. You got to hear this every game. The one thing he said, which made some sense, was that they are going to look in the next year about making that play that particular kind of play reviewable, but it's one of those things that you can just say that to say it to get some of the heat off of his officials.
And San Fran got holes on that one, Ruggs.
They did.
And then I will say one thing. It wasn't a game changer, and you know what? If San Fran wants to blame anyone, they should blame themselves, because the very next play, we know what happened, Ruggs. They 4th and goal.
Yeah, justice was done because they stopped.
That's right, and I did. Well said, Ruggs. It's one thing I said. I'm sure everyone in America probably said it. Justice was served. Marshawn Lynch fumbles the ball, but oh my God, that ball was on the ground for a very long time.
Ahmad Brooks had a big-time shot at that.
It seemed like 22 49ers were around the football. I'm like, okay, all I see are white jerseys. How come this football's still on the ground and they don't pick it up? And
kind of
looked
like football follies for a minute there.
It was crazy.
Jumping on the ball.
It looked like a grenade. Like nobody wanted to touch it. It's like, dude, it's not a grenade. It's a football. You can pick it up and go. And I really thought San Fran was going to pick it up and go for a touchdown. The ball was down. That's the one thing about football. It seems like forever. It was only a matter of seconds, but it seemed like forever that football was on the ground. And I'm waiting for someone to run up, scoop it up, and go. And they would have been gone. No one was going to catch a guy. And you're right. If Ahmad Brooks picks that ball up, it's a touchdown.
Even if he doesn't take it all the way, he's getting into Seattle territory, and it's changing possession and field position clearly, which becomes a big factor because of what happens next. But
so it didn't. It wasn't. I really thought that was gonna. I really thought Lynch was gonna get in. When that happened, I said, "Oh man, poor San Fran," because now it's Lynch at the 1 yard line. I'm like, he's gonna get in here. And that happened. So justice was served. It was poetic justice for the 49ers. I just want to say one thing. I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. Shame, shame, shame on the Seattle Seahawks fans. I really hope whoever threw food on that Navarro Bowman, that poor kid whose leg got snapped, whose career might be over, shame on you.
And he's a special football player too. I mean, just an unbelievable talent.
Let me tell you
guys
something.
like that. It's.
I don't care.
See a guy like that
I don't
go
care
down.
what his uniform he has on. Disgusting, shameful, pathetic, and I really hope you burn in hell. There's a special place in hell for you people. And I know I'm not going to say everybody in Seattle. It wasn't. When there's
it's isolated. People. I mean,
it's just like Oakland. It's just like Philadelphia. Same thing in
Philly.
Philadelphia. And you're talking to a guy who's been to Philadelphia for a football game, and it's not everybody, but just shameful. Just a shameful job by whoever threw food on Navarro Bowman. And those people, and if they catch those people, they should be blackballed, and they should never be able to go to another Seahawk game again. Pathetic, disgusting.
I agree totally, Zook. I did jump ahead though one play. I just wanted to cover real quick one key sequence in the game, and this is now we got it at halftime. It was 10-10, and then you had Kaepernick led that drive through the pass to Bolden. They got up 17-10, and then it was cut to 17-13. But there was a big play in the game and another bad call, and I almost forgot to even bring this up. But Andy Lee goes back to punt, and he gets run into, and this is like a 4th and 10, I believe, somewhere in that range. But they call it running into the kicker, not roughing. Doesn't give him the first down.
Right.
That turns into the drive that started with Russell Wilson ending up with the intentional grounding. He holds onto the ball way too long.
Yes, he did.
And many times in this game, but especially on that play, they call. It ended up being a 16-yard penalty. It took a 2nd and 6 to 3rd and 22. He gets the 15-yard play to Zach Miller, sets up 4th and 7. Hauschka gets run onto the field, looks over at Pete Carroll and is like, I'm not making this. So they burn the timeout, which I thought was going to be critical. It didn't end up turning out to be that way, but rush him back off the field. They throw Russell Wilson back on 4th and 7 because it's really, you're not getting much by punting there. And he throws the laser beam to Curse for the touchdown there. And 20-17, another game-changing play. Wilson just, in this game, he found his deep ball. That was one big change that I thought over last week against New Orleans. And the weather had something to do with the New Orleans game. It was such a blustery day where there was very calm conditions comparatively in this one. But I thought that was a huge difference in this game was his ability to throw that deep ball. And it all kind of started with the call that was made or not made for San Francisco, because if they get that ball back there, Seattle doesn't get good field position, doesn't get the they ended up taking that ball over right around their own 45-yard line after that no call. Lee got a chance to punt it again, but didn't hit a great punt. Golden Tate had about a 15-yard return on the punt to get him around the 45, and a couple first downs later, and this sets up this touchdown, makes it 20-17, and then all that stuff happened with the Navarro Bowman play. But I want to make sure I didn't skip that part of the game.
Ruggs, you're right. That was a huge instance of the game right there. And hey, what else is new? The NFL officiating stinks. Pathetic job again by the NFL officials, and I just hope and pray that they don't ruin the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Clearly, they blew another NFC title game, and I mean they clearly blew this game and were terrible in the NFC title game. And like I said, hopefully they're not this bad in the Super Bowl. Again, I could go on and on about these officials. I've gone on and on about these officials. It's terrible. It needs to be addressed. Something needs to be done with these referees. I don't know if it's too many rules, but it's not even that. I'm tired of you know what? No excuses for these guys. Just like the NFL players are professionals, these guys are professionals, and they're not refereeing like professionals. They're refereeing like amateurs. It's really sheer ineptitude on their part, and just a terrible job. They blew so many calls in this game's Ruggs, as you know, and as you've pointed out.
They did. We talked earlier about the Dante Whitner hit. It was a shoulder to shoulder. It was called head to head.
Terrible.
It was, it didn't cost San Fran there, but I mean, Harbaugh went ballistic. It was 15 yards and a first down. Doesn't take much to get Harbaugh ballistic.
And boy, Jim was in rare form last night. And you know what?
He hates to lose to Pete Carroll too.
Of course,
goodness,
absolutely.
Stanford USC days.
Oh my God,
this rivalry.
I think it's the best coaching rivalry in the league.
It is.
It really is. And I will say this about Jim Harbaugh. I almost give him a pass because I tell you what, I may have gone a little crazy too on some of those calls.
Oh, absolutely.
I think I would have too. It's the NFC title game. It's your season. You're trying to get back to the Super Bowl. I don't blame him for showing some emotion. And, he was the victim of some bad calls, but that's the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. But you know what? They didn't make their own, they also had chances too to win this football game.
Yeah, we're going to get into it now. I mean, we're talking about now we're into the fourth quarter action pretty much. And, after that Lynch fumble on the 4th and goal, Kaepernick takes the ball over and almost immediately underthrows a pass intended for Bolden, picked by Cam Chancellor. That was the one really bad throw of the day for Kaepernick, was that one. He just did not put enough on it.
Right.
Seattle promptly takes over. They don't advance the ball very much at all, but they are already in business, and Hashka hits a long field goal, puts them up 23-17. Still at that point, I'm like, this is still sitting pretty good for the 49ers because they haven't done anything in the second half other than early on in it. And they're just one touchdown away from going to the Super Bowl. And you know the way Kaepernick's been having some late game success. He did it in Green Bay. He did it in Carolina. You really just felt like it was setting up for him to be the hero. He got the ball back again, chance to win it, just enough time, had his timeouts.
Yeah. A key 4th down conversion of Frank Gore there on our last drive.
Makes the pass to Frank Gore.
That was their
4th
season.
and 2 for the season.
Yep,
and
that was their season right there.
It's looking good. Hits Crabtree on a big play down the sidelines. They get into the red zone.
And one thing like we pointed out, before the show, and I think Crabtree made the right decision staying in bounds and gaining a few more yards.
Absolutely.
They had 3 timeouts left. I know some people were like, why didn't he just go right out of bounds? They had 3 timeouts left, and he advanced the ball.
You want to use all that clock. Like they did in Green Bay. They used all the time.
Yeah. So Crabtree did the right thing there. So, yeah, it was looking like a masterful drive for Kaepernick. It looks like he was, showing a little Capper magic on that last drive. He hit Vernon Davis on the play as well. Yep. And who
was really quiet. Vernon Davis was terrible.
And that was to be expected because we saw the week before they shut down Jimmy Graham. Seattle is death to tight ends. They really are. They're death to tight ends.
And the one play that he looked like he was going to make a catch on, and Chancellor just drilled him and knocked him to the ground, and he dropped the ball. They called it incomplete. And
Cam Chancellor's amazing.
He had a great game, and
great season. I mean, the guy's amazing.
Absolutely,
he's amazing.
When that happened, I'm like, I can't see Vernon Davis doing anything today. Once that play happened, I was like,
took him right out of the game.
Yeah, so he did make one catch on the final drive, but it all came down to Kaepernick throwing for the corner of the end zone to Crabtree, and Richard Sherman wheels around with his left hand, tips the ball backwards, and Malcolm Smith, who's just hustling, running down the play. No way he's going to cover Crabtree, so he's just running there to be around, like we heard, some comments. Just wanted to be around the ball.
Yeah, it was really a couple things about that last play. Eerily familiar to the last play in the Super Bowl. You know, not the. I mean, obviously they weren't right on the goal line, and he didn't overthrow him, but really almost the same play.
Yeah,
corner end zone fade to Crabtree, and that's been Kaepernick's go-to guy during his brief stint in the NFL. And yeah, I mean Crabtree was open,
and it was on target.
I mean, it was right there. Just Sherman is just so big, so athletic. He's got such long arms that he was able to turn around, knock that ball, almost like an outfielder, like backing up another outfielder in baseball.
Exactly.
You know,
good analogy.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like you're just behind the guy to make sure if the ball gets by him, I pick it up, and then the guy doesn't have an inside the park home run. You know,
exactly.
And it was the same thing. It was like, okay, I'm just gonna hang around, see what happens, and boom.
And they did. They asked Malcolm Smith after the game what he was doing there on that play, and he's like, he said, Coach Carroll teaches us just to be around the ball, just to be ball hawking players.
Yep.
And he just saw the ball in the air, started hustling after it, and just ended up in the right place at the right time. Because otherwise, the Niners get a couple more shots at the end zone, and I don't know what happens if you give Kaepernick a couple more chances. It might be a different result totally. And
we'll never know. And that's a testament of coaching. Got to give it up to Pete Carroll. His transition from he was in the NFL before that, but you know the game didn't pass him by. His second go around the NFL has been a tremendous success. He's done a tremendous job. He is. Hey, listen, I'm not a big fan of the guy on a personal level. I think he is a smug, arrogant son of a gun. But you know what? He's a tremendous football coach, and he is. He's one of the best coaches in the league, and he's going to the big dance. And it should be a hell of a game. Great defense against a great offense, like I said in my Super Bowl predictions last week. It's going to be the irresistible force against the immovable object, and we're all in for a great show. And, of course, we have to talk about – I know we don't have much time, but we got to talk about Richard Sherman's antics after the play and after the game. Listen, I'm all for entertainment. I'm all for being boisterous. I'm all for being an entertainer and, patting yourself on the back. But Richard Sherman, little much. Borderline disgusting, really classless. Not a big fan of it. Okay, his post-game rant with Aaron Andrews about being the best cornerback in the league. Richard, first of all, I'm sorry. I'm not ready to call you the best cornerback in the league. I don't think you are. I mean, I still think that distinguishment belongs to Darrelle Revis, but I might be on an island on that one.
On Revis Island.
Yeah, I guess I am on Revis Island. There you go. But whatever. I mean, my point is the best players ever at their position, Ray Lewis, Peyton Manning, so on and so forth, Barry Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, he is far from Rod Woodson or Deion Sanders. I mean, and that's the kind of class I think he includes himself in, and he is not there yet.
Right, and he's young. He's very young. It's only his third year. My point is that those guys that I just mentioned never, ever had to tell everyone they were the best at their position. Peyton Manning's been in this league for a long time. I haven't once seen him stand in front of a mic or at a press conference and say, I'm the best quarterback in the league. Never.
And you won't hear it either.
You'll never hear it. I've never seen that. I never saw Barry Sanders come out and say, I'm the best running back in the league. Never. So, Richard, you want to be the best? Shut your pie hole and let your play speak for itself. And to slap Michael Crabtree on the butt and get in his face, that's just classless. To do the choke sign.
Right, just walk it off the field. Just let him go.
Really classless. You made a great play. And to talk about yourself right after the game, to make it about you rather than your team, is just really stupid, disgusting, egotistical, and really just a bad job. You want to be a sports entertainer, bro? Go call Vince McMahon and become a wrestler, okay? you want to be like that, and you'd be really good at it. And I think after your career is over, I think Richard Sherman could be a great wrestler. He really could be. But you know what? You're a team player, and you're a professional. A professional. Act like one. And it's terrible because, and then you get every racist in America on Twitter and stuff. They really are. When you get a guy that acts like this, I mean, every racist sees, so I told you so, and it's terrible. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, you don't want to see that. But I want to put some of the blame on Fox on this one for this outburst. You know, why? I'm sorry.
I know where you're going.
He's not. That's not the time to go talk to Richard Sherman right there. You know, he was just getting into a Crabtree.
Emotional.
You know, I know Erin Andrews might be in the trailer getting a manicure and not watching the game because she acted like she had no idea. What's going on?
Yeah.
She acted like she didn't know anything about the Crabtree thing. Am I right here?
You're right.
She acted
You're right.
like she did not even see the play.
Yeah, who said something about you?
What's going on? What are you talking about?
She didn't even know the fact that Crabtree took shots at Sherman during the week. Yeah.
And even if you don't know that, you got to see the fracas that's going on in the goal line after the play and the slapping in the butt. They called the penalty on him for unsportsmanlike conduct. I mean, get a clue, Aaron. Know what's going on.
I'm with you.
That they're and Fox. Oh, let's go right for Richard Sherman. What do they think's going to happen?
You know, Ruggs. You want to know something?
Go talk to Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch, Pete Carroll, somebody who's going to give you an interview. That if you don't want, they wanted this.
You know what? You're 100% right. You know what, Ruggs? That's a great point. And this is which is why I said this about Richard Sherman. Act like a pro, because these networks, they're not your buddies. They're looking for a sound bite, and they got it, because now they can put this on YouTube, and they're going to get 25 gazillion hits on YouTube, and people are gonna go to FoxSports.com, and now that and you know what this is. I'm sure Richard Sherman's loving this too. I'm sure he's loving it. He's a superstar. He's a Twitter sensation. All this stuff. Right. I mean, he's loving it
and
too.
he gave a much better post-game conference,
yes, he
which
did.
was calm and stuck to the facts of the game, and got into a little bit more of what had happened leading up to.
But you're 100% right, Ruggs. Great point on the fact that Fox wanted this. I agree with you wholeheartedly. You're right. It was almost. I thought about that too, but again, I fell into the Richard Sherman. I kind of just wanted to point the finger at him, but they almost entrapped him.
Exactly.
I agree. It was almost entrapment, but nevertheless, he's a tremendous player. Seattle's going to the Super Bowl, and we're going to have a great matchup. I predicted this back in May. Many people did.
You did. Great call with the picking it and
back in.
No, and it was a kind of a chalk playoffs too with the 2-1 seeds. Hasn't happened in a while.
Yeah.
And
I think
not a ton of upsets.
No, not really,
which is shocking.
Like I said before, when the playoffs started, I think we both agreed on this, and a lot of people probably felt this way, not just me. I really thought the bye week was going to help Denver, and it ended up doing so. And obviously, as we all know, it's hard to win in Seattle, almost impossible. Yeah. So once they clinched that 1 seed, I think it was almost a foregone conclusion.
Right, because I think the bye week did not hurt Seattle the way it's hurt some of the top seeds in past
years. Not with home field like that.
Because of the home field, they were able to. Because they had a second half against New Orleans where they didn't play their best, and they had a first half of this game where they didn't play their best, but when it mattered, they were able to rely on that crowd, that 12th man, and that great defense and get through. And Marshawn Lynch, another great game. He was 22 for 109, a touchdown. The 49ers had not given up a 100-yard rusher on the season.
Yeah.
They also gave up a 100-yard receiver in Doug Baldwin, like I said before, 6 for 106. So Seattle's offense, although it's been maligned over the last few weeks, made the plays when they needed to against the great 49ers defense.
They certainly did, yep.
And they really did deserve to go. I think the two best teams in the league are playing. Mm-hmm. I heard a lot that over the week, coming up into the week, that the Niners were the best team in the league. I still felt it was Seattle. We said it in the preseason. We thought the whole NFC could come down to this division and these two teams, and we both like Seattle just a smidge better than San Fran. We actually were thinking maybe San Fran might not even make the playoffs. I had them as a wild card. Zook had them just missing it because they're going to take their lumps in that great division. And look how good Arizona was.
Like I said, it was mainly my
St.
main
Louis
reason.
is no easy team to beat,
right.
and that was a good point. No, and I agreed with you when you said it. I felt the same way that it might be
the Crabtree
a tough year, and we didn't expect Crabtree to be back either.
Yeah,
and I'm glad that Seattle did pull this out because I think that now with Denver and Seattle both winning, I think you got the cream of both conferences to play for the Super Bowl.
I agree. This is a rare case where we do have the two best teams in the league. So, most years we get, the wild card team gets hot. You get a lower seed team that gets hot, hence the New York Giants twice.
Or Pittsburgh a couple years ago.
No disrespect to the Giants, but I'm using them as an example. Right, Pittsburgh, we've seen this. Baltimore last year, we see a lot of these teams that get hot and they get in and go all the way. We didn't see that this year, and hey, it's the Super Bowl is going to be in New Jersey, but in the New York metropolitan area.
We haven't had that big snowstorm yet this year.
Well,
we get over a foot of snow. It hasn't happened yet, and what if it targets that weekend? My goodness, God. What havoc that could play.
Oh my God,
that's the only thing you worry about is
the weather.
Please don't make the weather ruin the game. You want the game to be fair, and you want all of the skilled players and the key position players to be able to do what they do and not turn it into a Detroit-Philadelphia game we had a few weeks ago, although that ended up being a pretty exciting football game, so you never know. But
yeah, right. We'll see. Yeah, it's one thing we can't predict yet is Mother Nature, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But, yeah, looking forward to the game, brother. Looking forward to it.
We're going to break it down for you next week. I mean, it's all the time we have for tonight on our show. We kind of just did one big, long segment here on breaking these two games down. I had a feeling it was going to go long because there's so much in these games, particularly that NFC game, just so much involved in really every play. It was a game that I had not seen in a long time where you had everything. You had major injuries, you had back and forth play, you had turnovers at key times, you had a game coming right down to the last drive. Defensive on both sides was tremendous, and I was glad as always to do this with you, brother.
It was a hell of a show. Yeah, there was a lot of action, and next week we'll get into the Super Bowl and break the game down. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and try to get into some other topics too in the wake of this Super Bowl week coming up. But with this off week in between now, coming up on a bye week this weekend, maybe we can get into some other things and
Hey man, it's football time right now. We all know that football's dominating the sports industry.
We'll miss
it
when it's gone, but right now we're all about our NFL. I think that's what the country definitely becoming a national pastime.
The greatest sport, the greatest sport on earth, man. No doubt about it. It really is. It's just too bad. It tells you how great of a sport it is because the referees can't. The referees can't deter us.
They can't. It doesn't.
The rule changes can't deter us.
Makes no difference.
Doesn't make a difference. We watch and we love it, no matter what.
All right, brother. Well, I'll see you next week, and thank you to everybody out there listening and subscribing to the YouTube channel, liking us on Facebook, listening to our show on All Noise Radio, on SoundCloud.com, on Tri-State Sports Guys. I miss anything? I think I got all our.
Yeah, that's it.
Our media outlets. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week.
All right. Bye-bye.
It's a slam dunk. Talking hoops on the Zuki and Ruggs Show.
Will you be ready for the start of opening day? For over a century, they have taken the field to do battle for the right to be called champion. Stories of athletic feats, memorable moments, and fantastic victories have been seen by the chosen. It will soon be time to add another chapter to their long history of tradition. So get off the couch and experience with family and friends the power of the pinstripe. Visit NewYorkYankees.com and get your 2013 New York Yankee regular season tickets today.
It's been 48 years Connecticut School of Broadcasting has helped place thousands of people, just like you, in exciting careers in radio, television, and the new media. At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, our hands-on approach is different. It's designed to have you spend less time in the classroom and more time in the studios. From the first day, you'll work with state-of-the-art equipment. Learn by doing from our team of industry professionals who come from their studios to ours. The best part about it, you'll learn it all in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. So do what I did. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO. Step into the fast-paced world of the broadcast media. Day and evening classes begin soon. Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Get trained and get connected now. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com.
Go to allnoiseradio.com. Click for A&R Sports. Listen to the Zuki and Ruggs Show every Friday from 12 to 1. Powered by Live365.com. All Noise Radio. The noise you can't ignore.
Hey! You guys play here too?
Weird. I was just out and about.
Thought I'd see if anybody wanted to play some round ball.
It's the Zuki and Ruggs Show.
You any good?
Threw me under the boards, you'll find out.
On All Noise Radio.
Do you lack confidence and assertiveness?
Can you open my milk, Mommy?
Do people have a difficult time determining your gender? Do you take constant verbal abuse from strangers?
They're just a bunch of pansies.
Well, you're a man. Time to start acting like one. Try our brand new product, Man in a Can. This barely legal concoction comes in several invigorating flavors, such as aftershave, motor oil, and beer.
Stings the nostrils.
Time to man up. Get Man in a Can today.